All right, good morning, everyone. I needed to share this message because, and this is on a completely different channel because I think, again, person safety. I'm going to share with you some incidents that have occurred. And it's kind of hard because there's quite a few. and, and this is just, again, a way of my documentation. With the situation of where I am right now, over the period of a year, I've had a lot of different things that have happened that have been harassing, maybe unfair, unjust, a threat to my person and my personal safety of my personal belongings and myself in general. Just starting from today, um, and I've addressed these issues with the owner many times, and have in writing because I've attempted to address verbally, and he will not hear me verbally majority of the time at all. And as a result of that, the behaviors and actions that have occurred that are harassing or volatile in nature or damaging to my character or my person have continued. Um, I'm not real sure about how to go about everything, so I'm going to do it, you know, the way that I feel and then kind of go back, I guess. So, a few days ago, I'm not sure how the incident happened. Well, let me go back to a few days ago. The owner, I guess, had his phone lost or stolen, and as a result of that, again, like I said, the communication, because there's been a lot of situations where there's been harassing, a lot of situations where there has been slandering. That just a lot of negative things. But again, I keep myself kind of separate from the household, so again, I'm not focusing on those things. I'm focusing on my goals and doing what it is I need to do. I set up processes and procedures, and I follow those so that I can again, kind of keep my life as steady as possible. Now, why am I here? Because and it's cheap and nobody wants to leave. So this is the situation. The situation maybe a few months ago. I'm not sure exactly when all the details, but I do have it documented somewhere via my text and things like that because I do have documentation. There was a young lady that moved in. Because this young lady moved in, and I know with the prior situation, I've always kept completely to myself, and I thought, well, maybe I'll change it a little bit this time and I'll see if that works a little better because I said this is a nice place as far as quiet and things like that. At the time, it was very dirty. There was roaches and there's no air conditioning and everything. And with the other young lady that lived here, he really it was just like it is what it is, and he kind of left it that way. When the new young lady moved in, he kind of made a change. He cleaned everything, and I think it's because he um, took a liking to this young lady, which is fine. So, I thought, well, with that, let's dust out all the cobwebs and let's start anew. I saw the young lady, and immediately she smiled, and I thought, okay, fine. So let's see. And this is my type of person because I'm a natural person, so forth and so on. So I said, let's see, if we can make this a little bit different. This time, I was still going to keep to myself, but what ended up happening was I overheard a conversation with this young lady and the owner on the other side of the house, and I heard her say, and I started hearing like the gossipy type thing. So I was like, okay, well, when people gossip, it's because they don't know, and sometimes it's out of fear. So what I need to do is introduce myself to her and show a kind face. So she says, "Oh, she doesn't have many friends, does she?" And I overheard the owner saying, "This is way on the other side of the house." The owner says, "She does, but not here." Because he hears me, I guess, talking and things like that. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, here we go again. We're going to start with this latent harassment type thing, and I'm really not for that. I say to myself, so I said, well, let me introduce myself to her personally. So that way there's no questions about, if I have friends, if I don't have friends, that I'm just a good person doing my thing and some of the dreams and goals that I had. So I spoke to her, and I usually don't give my name and that type of thing, but I was like, let me try a change this time and see if something different will work. Introduced myself, gave her my name, invited her into my room, showed her some of the things that I was working on. At the time, I was hitting hard with the advocacy for victims of the criminal justice system. I shared with her a story about my family, where I'm from, because she, spoke about my heritage and things like that, and the relationship that I had with my family, all in a positive light. You know, positive thing about victims of the criminal justice system. You know, working hard, there are people that are actually victims of the system. You know, and I told her portions of my story, and I told her about my family. I am of this descent, and because I am of this descent, you know, Asian American descent, South Korean in general, my mom is very strict and very harsh. So because as a result of this thing with the justice system, it led to a series of things that led to her practically disowning me, you know, and that's okay. And I was saying how it makes you stronger and that you build up from the roots and you take whatever that you have and you create, you know. And unbeknownst to me, you know, and I was showing her at the time I was job hunting, and you know that was another one of the barriers that this thing caused. And I was showing her my processes and procedures for job hunting, all the documentation that I did, and just so forth and so on. And she seemed pretty bored with that. So I was like, okay, you probably know this already. And she's like, oh yeah, you know. So I kind of let her go. Very laid back personality, very kind of person that seems very receptive, and so it makes, you know, so if you're kind of person that have things that you want to say, it makes you comfortable saying it. And again, I was trying to build a relationship or a bond because with the previous situation I saw something different and I overheard that conversation where it could get pretty nasty. So again, I wanted to introduce myself to her to let her know who I was, what I was about, you know, that I'm absolutely all goodness, no threat. And so as time went on, you know, I was like, oh, you know, movies, this, that, and the other. So, you know, little things like, you know, watching movies in the front, you know, which I thought was great. And I was like, wow, she reminded me a lot of my family and of me because of the naturalness. I'm all natural, no additives, no preservatives. And then she reminded me of my sister because her look was a little different. And so, again, you learn from your mistakes. So, you know, wasn't a whole lot going on. Every now and then watch movies and things like that, you know, someone to chat within the household. And I kind of purported just in an outright way that, wow, you know, it's very nice. You know, it's like having company without having company, to have someone to speak to and kind of chat with and things like that. And, you know, me and my sister used to cook together. So I kind of, I think in a way, was trying to adopt her in as that. And then I started to realize that, you know, it wasn't really the same thing that I was expecting because, like, I would take walks in the evening and I would invite her. And, you know, then I was noticing that there was a difference. And this was maybe just over a few day period. This wasn't something that was long. It was maybe a few days long, maybe about a week. So I was noticing that when she would invite me, well, not, I don't know, I think I initiated the invitations most of the time. I say, you want to go for a walk, you need to walk your dog, you know, get out of the house, blah, blah, blah. And so she would say, okay. And then I'm, you know, thinking I'm working on this while she's preparing. And then next thing you know, she's outside and yelling, you know, hey, hey, are you coming or what, you know? So I'm like, that's pretty rude. You know what I'm saying, for a friendly type of encounter. And this happened a couple of times, and I noticed that one, it's embarrassing because she's outside and she's yelling at me like I'm kind of, you know, her understudy. And then two, didn't we agree we were going together and didn't you have to walk past me to get outside? You know, so it was kind of rude, you know what I'm saying? And then the owner, I think, kind of noticed that it wasn't that type of relationship and perhaps that I was, you know, more into friendship than that person was. And then I kind of saw that and I was like, okay, this person obviously, you know, does not see friendship here. So I was like, all right, so I need to go back to doing what I was doing and focusing on my goals. And so I went ahead and I started doing that because, again, it was obvious. And then and I was happy doing that. After a period of time, you know, after a period of time, I was preparing myself, getting myself together. And the next thing I know, I hear in the bathroom, and all of this is documented in writing. I hear in the bathroom, um, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Now, from that point where the dog situation happened and this happened, I completely separated myself because I have things to do. You know, if I take time to do something, it's because I've decided, made a conscious effort to do that. You know, it's not something that's necessary. So I'm running over to see what it is that she's so mad about because she's just really loud. And you can tell the way she's saying that she wants attention and she wants somebody to come. So I come to see what's going on. There's a older white lady that lives in the room beside her that's right across from the bathroom. She's in the bathroom, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, um, and it takes her a while to say, because I don't think there really was anything going on. She had to think about what to say was going on. And she was like, somebody put bleach in my soap. And I was like, what do you mean? How do you mean they put bleach in your soap? And I was like, what soap? And then she was looking around. I think she was making this up that she went on. That. And it was like some hand soap that she had in a container. And I was like, I don't think anybody in your house, in this house, would do something like that. Are you sure? And she was like, yes. And I was like, well, do you mind if I smell it? And I smelled it, and it didn't smell like that. It just smelled like old soap, like cheap soap that you would get from the dollar store. And I was like, no, it doesn't smell like that to me. And she was like, yes, it does. And I washed my dog with that. I washed my dog with that. And so I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't smell like bleach. And I was like, let me show you what bleach smells like. So I went into my bathroom to grab the bleach. But lo and behold, I didn't realize there was no bleach in there. The bleach was all used. It was just water. And so I was like, that doesn't smell like bleach at all. Then there was a little thing of bleach that was in the living room that perhaps the girl that lived there before left behind or something. And it was like a floral scented bleach. And I was like, see, this is what bleach smells like. It smells nothing like that. And she was like, well, so I think somebody put bleach in there and I'm blaming you. And I was like, what? And I was like, no, I would never do anything like that. And I was like, now, what I would recommend, you could go ahead and dump that out, and I will give you some soap. I have a whole big bottle of soap that you can have, and this is all documented. I have a whole big bottle of soap that you can have. And she's like, my mom gave me that soap. My mom put that soap in there. And I was like, okay, well, if that's the way that you really feel, you should hold on to it and let the owner smell it, when he gets here. Now, the other lady, the older white lady that lives here, I, didn't really speak to her at all, so I didn't say anything. When she first came, I think she used my bathroom and she took a pee pee and didn't flush, and I was just like, at that point, I was done. And then also when she first came, it was like 2 in the morning and she was banging on my window, and she had the owner's number and didn't just call him, so I was done at that point on that one. And my impression, and I'm just being honest with you, my impression was that this woman was, like one of the drug people or whatever, and, people that was on drugs and shelters, and, I just really was not trying to get encroached in that lifestyle. Now, the other young lady that was here too, prior to me not speaking to her at all, these are some other things that happened during that maybe week or so of us chatting. I noticed that, again, two-faced. And I'm going to tell you guys this, that when people show you who they are the first time, believe them. If they treat somebody else this way, they will treat you the same way. It's not, you're not special, okay? So what ends up happening is this. So I guess something happened with the older woman's car. And again, people, and it's a manipulation type. Let me close my window because I think the owner is out there. He's talking really loud. I can hear him in here, as a matter of fact. So, all right. So, continuing on with this story. So anyhow, so I guess something happened where the older woman's car broke down. I didn't think anything about it. And when I came in that day, the younger girl says to me, oh, he's not in a good mood, you know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Why not? And then she pointed to the older woman's room. Now, I'm going to tell you this about politics and all this and all that. I don't have any understanding of that because it requires a little bit of underhandedness, and I don't. But what I'm seeing in hindsight, and what I kind of immediately saw after that situation, what was happening was that with the girl coming, like I said, with the girl coming, and then with the, you know, where I was kind of veering off, like, that's not my type of thing, the separation, and then she saw the new lady here. She was making an attempt to re-befriend because she didn't know what the politics of it was going to be. She didn't know if I was going to bond with this woman. So again, it was a power play. She didn't know if I was going to bond with this woman or not. So again, this was her way of kind of getting back in just in case to, affirm her station as someone that was of importance. That, again, like the seniority thing is, seniors, juniors, to say that, she's here and, she already has her position here. So, so that was a way of trying to pull someone in. And when people gossip, that's what it is. It's to pull you in, to do that type of thing. So she says, and I says, well, why is he angry? And she pointed to the woman's room, and I was like, why? What happened? And she was like, well, come on, let's talk about it. Again, gossip. I don't do gossip. So she says, well, the lady, something happened with her car. Her car broke down. He had to go get her. He was really pissed. He didn't really want to, this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, wow, this chick is really selling out all over the place because this same female, you know, that man helps her all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what? Why is she selling out all over the place like that? And I said, and I was thinking to myself, doesn't she talk? And because I was out and working a lot, I didn't see what goes on in the house when I'm gone, and I really don't care because I'm anything that's not positive, I'm not with, and everything I do is positive, and I'm out of business. But she was like, she had to go pick her up and had the car towed back here, and he's mad and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, oh, okay. And she was just making it seem real ugly, like he really didn't want to, and go pick her up, and it was such an inconvenience and this, that, and the other. So again, this is the thing of where she's planting that seed of either to him, to whoever else in the house, so it creates that environment. Again, people are really easy to do that. Creates that environment that she's this big problem because her car broke down, this, that, and the other. But he helps her all the time. So I'm just like, okay, and I'm thinking to myself, this is really negative, and I'm just like, wow, I don't think that, from what I could see, perhaps it was an inconvenience for him, but he didn't seem like he was all that crazy mad about it. So, and then shortly after that, that was a I'm so mad situation. Now, with the older lady, because I saw that that happened and that was going to be a big rift, again, I felt like, and I don't give my name to everyone, but I gave it to the initial first lady because of the situation that I told you that happened. Now, with the older woman, um, I thought, okay, now what's going to happen now? Because I saw how it was going to work. That she was going to go to her and start kind of setting her little war base or whatever it is that she does, the gossiping, this, that, and the other, and painting a picture of me that was unfavorable or other than who I am. So I was like, okay, because this person is in this house, I need to introduce myself personally to this person now because I already know that this person is going to gossip to this person. So I'm just going to introduce myself to her, let her know who I am, and that's going to be the end of it. No more. So I said, hi, my name is such and such. And obviously the girl had already said some things, but she was like, like she didn't even give me her name. So, and I was just like, I just wanted to introduce myself because, again, you're in the household and the other young lady knows my name. And, if there's any information shared, I want you to know who I am personally for myself. My name is such and such. This is what I'm into. I'm into healthy living, blah, 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 blah. I had a situation with this, and this is something I'm an advocate for. I did have, I do have family, but, I pretty much been disowned. So I'm very independent. I do everything on my own, and I see everything in a positive light. It was very nice to meet you. Just to let you know a little bit about the relationship in the household. I don't have a personal relationship with anyone. The owner, he really doesn't like me so much, and I told him about a situation where there was a threat that was made to my personal belongings, and he was right there and saw it and heard it, and I was like, did you see or hear that? And he was just like, no, I didn't hear anything. So, he just outright just lied about it, and other people were there that saw that, and they were kind of shocked about that as well. And I kind of, that was that, and that was all that I discussed, and it was just kind of a filling out session, and then she told me a lot of her, that was all I told her about me, and she told me all of her stuff, and, I was like, okay, well, I just wanted to introduce myself because I didn't want any, miscommunication or any, I wanted you to tell you who I was for myself. I'm pretty quiet. I said to myself, you probably will not hear from me again. So that was it. Now, during that little week or so of talking with the initial young lady, and I'm going to call her, no, I'm going to call her Brown, with Miss Brown, and that's not her name, but that's what I'm going to call her. With the initial conversation with Miss Brown, she alluded to me, within that week or so, that she had a boyfriend who was in jail, that that she met him offline on some POF site, and at that time, that time they met maybe in June or July on a POF site. That was her boyfriend. She said that she just came from California, so that's why I asked her. I was like, oh really? And I was like, you have a boyfriend here already? And she was just like, yeah, I met him on this website. And that was her story. And her story was, and again, you don't know what's true and what's not, that she used to live on Colonial Drive with some other roommates or whatever. And then you start noticing how people talk about people. And she was saying about how there was one roommate that would never come out of his room. That was somebody's boyfriend. They didn't pay the rent. and he would never come out of his room. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you even talk about somebody else like that? I don't know this person. Why would you even, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm like, wow. And I'm caught because I'm in the middle of a walk with this person, and then she was just like, and I was like, well, how do you know that, She was like, he would be sneaky creeping out. And I was like, well, how do you know that? Like, and as I got to know, her through these short conversations, I'm thinking maybe he was just trying to avoid you because you are a very mean and nasty person. You know what I'm saying? Very manipulative. And I'm not saying anything. I'm like, wow, because why would you say anything like that about anyone? And so I'm just like, okay. But, lo and behold, they end up moving out. And she's like, they left all their stuff. And so just, this is information that was unsolicited, unrequired, because like I said, my conversations stay on the positive. And so I did ask, because human nature, well, why is your boyfriend in jail? And she was like, oh, they went to some pool party and some Russian guys, and somebody said they were going to slap her and blah blah blah, and so they got into it. He got into a fight and went to jail. Now I'm going to say this. Now, after my experiences with this young lady, I can see how she would incite that type of thing, because she has threatened to, out of the blue, to slap me. You know what I'm saying? I've heard her slap him. So probably she got really, really mouthy and really rude. These dudes got tired of it, put her in her place. And then the young man felt like, and she has control of her, felt like he needed to step in. The young man felt like he needed to step in, and try to be a man, because to me he's a little boy trying to be a man. And so he steps in, and then he gets probably get punked and gets into jail because of her and her mouth and the way that she acts. And so this is what I'm thinking, and I'm not being saucy, I'm just thinking. And again, because I'm exposed to different things, so excuse me if it comes off the wrong way, but I'm just being as open and honest as first possible. And that little story that I told may have seemed a little saucy, but that was the story that she told me. So, he's in jail, whatever, whatever. And then she's just like, oh, he's in a shelter. I guess he's out on probation and living in a shelter, and he's supposed to be coming. And she's has been saying that forever. And I'm just like, okay, maybe he just decided not to come. Something happened. But, I think it's a situation where in a shelter you have to be there 3 months or something. Or it may be she was just filling it out to make sure that nobody, I'm single and celibate, and that's for life. And definitely not my type. But I'm single and celibate, so nobody is. I'm married to God for life. But just, and she says he's Hispanic, but he's white to me. No. So I guess she's maybe also trying to fill out the situation to see if there may be an opportunity for, something adverse to happen that way. And I guess she kind of sees, okay, this shit ain't really like that, So, eventually he comes, and maybe other complications too. Eventually he does come. And at first, because there's a rift, because this is like shortly after the situation with her saying, I'm so mad about the dog or whatever, I don't want to be rude because this person has not done anything to me, so I want to show at least a civil face, on a very base level. So I don't want to like close the door, when I see that they're obviously behind me and things like that. So I come in with all my shopping crates and stuff, and I'm like, hey, are you guys coming in? And whatever, and it was like, yeah, and then I overheard, I guess they don't know each other that well, because I overheard when he and she was standing outside, he's like, oh, whose car is that? And she was like, oh, that's my car. So I think they may not have even known each other, before then. So the stories, I don't know, because he obviously didn't know that was her car, but I'm like, okay, not my business. You hear things, you keep it moving. So now, right before he gets there, what ends up happening is that my Google Voice account that I always use, and she knew that I had it, because when I brought her in here, I told her that that's mainly what I use, so that I'll always have one point of contact. And in addition to that, I don't always keep a phone. And so, so she knew that that's what I use. That's what I use to communicate with her, And the only communication I had, I think, was like, are you here, or something like that, because I wanted to go for a walk, and I didn't feel like walking over to her room because I felt like that was invasive. So what ends up happening is that shortly, somewhere in that time range, shortly before he gets here, I start getting, my Google Voice account was hacked. And what would end up happening was, and I don't use it that much because I'm not a phone person, it's only for business matters, or if I bump into somebody and just to say, hey, you know, it was nice meeting you, something like that. Nothing really detailed in there because I'm not a big phone person. I'm about person to person. So I noticed that this one guy that I met up with, I was just like, he's like, hey, how you doing? I was like, I'm doing great. How's such and such? Next thing I know, right after I send the house such and such message, there's a message in Spanish, something really sleazy, about men, and I'm like, what? And I wouldn't have noticed it, but the thing was, I had scrolled up to see where I left off with my last conversation, and I saw like this message in Spanish, and I'm like, what the heck? Because first of all, I don't know anybody to speak to in Spanish. Number two, the way that they typed in Spanish is not the way that I type, and I don't know anybody in Spanish. Hispanic to send text or messages to. So I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. And at first I ignored it because I was like, maybe it's just a glitch in the system. But then I noticed that every time I sent a message, this person was sending a nasty message right after. And I guess good for me that this person didn't understand Spanish, because if they did, they would have been like, why is this chick talking about this? We are not, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow, I was like, this is crazy. And I was like, it was just really weird and annoying. And then it got to the point where I just kind of ignored it because I was like, okay, whatever. But then I sent the landlord, the owner, a text, and the person sent a nasty message in Spanish right after that to the owner. And I looked and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I have to tell him. And this was a few months ago, like right before this guy came, and then when the guy came is when the owner, I think right before the guy came, the owner got it. And he probably didn't know it was the owner. So it was in Spanish, and in the back of my mind, I thought about that hey, didn't she say her boyfriend or whatever was Spanish or whatever? So, I let the owner know, I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that, my voice account was hacked. You know, somebody's sending these nasty messages from my account, and that's not me. I sent you this, but I didn't send you that. I'm just letting you know, okay? And he says, okay. And so, but in the back of my mind, that's playing, but I'm like, nah, that's crazy. Nobody would do nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why would he do that? And I was like, that's just really crazy, So I'm like, all right, fine. And so I didn't think anything about it. And then that's continued to happen. And of course, the guy, whoever it was that I was texting, that guy, after a while, he probably just ignored it because he didn't know what I was talking about anyway. I was like, but I told him, I said, look, my account has been hacked. If you see these messages in Spanish, that's not me. And I was like, just ignore it, just don't respond to it. And he was just like, he was starting to say, well, who was doing it? He was getting curious, and he was trying to respond back to get, the person to say whatever they were saying. I was like, no, just ignore it, because you're making it worse. That's what they want, is a response, you know. So, then after a while, I was just like, don't even communicate with me on that anymore, And I stopped communicating with him because he kept on going on and on about that. And I'm like, that is just so not part of my life. So now here's where 2 and 2 gets put together. This is where it fast forward to today. Now, and I'm going to tell you guys, be brave. Sometimes you don't want to address things because, and people are manipulative. They will manipulate you into a certain way where you won't say anything. But please speak up for yourself. And whatever the situation is, because either way, they don't have your good intentions in mind anyway. So speak up for yourself. Do yourself that favor. So what ends up happening today, I woke up and I overhear it sounds like to me the little white lady comes over and says something about her account being hacked into. And I'm like, whoa. And usually what happens, a lot of the conversations I don't hear because they're taken in private. There's been a lot of situations that I had where I tried to address with the owner. He would not allow those situations to be addressed in private. It would have to be open so that everybody can hear it. And sometimes, and he wants them to know that he's not paying any attention to it. That's why he does that. But with this situation, I'm surprised that he didn't take it somewhere else. But I overheard, and maybe he thought that I was like knocked out sleep. I don't know what the situation was. But and usually I wouldn't hear, because I would be knocked out sleep. But I overheard the young lady say that her account was hacked into. And so he says, well, in that case, you need to change your password. And then I guess she said something else. And he's like, you need to change it to something really difficult that nobody finds. But I'm going to tell you this. I changed my password on my account, and my account was still hacked into. So it doesn't really necessarily matter what you change your password to. I mean, there's another way, obviously, to get into it because they still got into mine. I guess they just got bored with it because they saw nothing was going on on my voice account, and they stopped. You know, so now we going back into rewind a little bit now because remember I told you all those texts that were sent from my hacked Google Voice account were in Spanish. Okay, now in very broken Spanish, so it's somebody that wasn't good at Spanish, you know, and so maybe about a week or so ago, maybe I don't know, maybe the 18th, 19th of May, I don't know, I have it documented, but I was in the morning time, the couple, and they stopped doing this lately, but previously they would be up all hours of the night just cooking and banging pots and pans and this and that and walking back and forth and this, that, and the other. And so, you know, it was like maybe 3:30 in the morning or so. I overheard them, you know, doing whatever it is they do, and they woke me up. So I got up, you know, and again, I look at this, you know, they don't have nothing to do with me. I'm my business. If I get up, I use it, you know, for something productive, you know. And so I, you know, got up and was like, hey, I need to go to Walmart anyway. So I started getting dressed, you know, trying to be quiet, whatever. Now, hitherto, I have not said one word to this dude, the male portion of that couple, except, you know, I think one time I asked about some Bluetooth. And for the most part, in person, this person has been pretty respectful, even when the woman has been very disrespectful. He's been very respectful, and I've overheard conversations where I went to wash my feet. Oh, what is she doing? Such and such, and I would overhear him say, "Oh, I think she's just washing her feet." You know, very logical. You know what I'm saying? Very logical, not nasty or rude in any way. Respectful, but I've never really said anything because again, if this is part two of that team, that you know anything that you say or do is going to be perceived as something negative or a reason to you know to interact in a negative way, and I'm you know just not with it. So I don't say anything at all unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't even let my eyeballs wander in a direction where I'm looking at her or looking at him or the direction, you know, anything. You know what I'm saying? But I do keep my ears open so that I kind of am aware of what's going on around me. So what ends up happening, I'm getting ready to go to Walmart because I'm like, I'm up. You know, these people are going to be up for the rest of the night. No need for me to just be laying here, you know, in my misery doing nothing. So I'm like, okay, let me get up. So I get up, start getting dressed because I needed to have some things I needed to do anyway. I was going to wait till the weekend, but I was like, hey, I have some more hours here. Let me just do it. So as I'm getting dressed, the first time when I come out, the guy comes out. He looks at me. I look at him. And I'm like, okay, you know, because it was one of those things where I'm on a totally opposite side of the house. And the dining area is like in between our side and their side. And he walks, and usually, you know, he just keeps it moving, but he stopped. And I'm looking like, why is he looking at me? You know, then I'm thinking, okay, maybe he wants to cut through here and go out the back. You know, but I just felt uncomfortable, so I just continued on and went to the bathroom. I have a thing with my face where my face shows everything. You can see when I'm happy, sad, mad, glad, disturbed, confused, upset, angry. You can see it all right up here in my face. So I guess you could obviously see that I was just like, oh, what? You know? So I went to the bathroom, I came out, and this time, again, when I came out, again, he came out again. You know what I'm saying? And then as he was coming out, and sometimes it's just coincidence, it happens, we come out at the same time. It just happens sometimes. At least that's what I think. But I think that it is true. It's a coincidence sometimes because it happens with me. You know, I'll come out exactly at the same time. It's not intentional. I have no way of it being intentional. It just happens. So he came out, and then I guess the girl heard me come out or something, knew that I was out and about, and so she called him back in. This is when the trouble ensued. She called him back in. He came back out, and I don't have any. I don't know anything about this couple except for what was told at the beginning, and then the white lady that lives here, she likes to gossip and give out too much to me. I don't like getting anybody's personal information, this, that, and the other. So what ends up happening is this. Um, he walks by, and I guess he knows my name because, of course, the girl gossiped about me to him, or, you know, all of this, you know. And so the mistake I made was introducing myself. But so I walk out, and normally he ignores me, and I ignore him. I walk out, and he's like, saying my name, and I'm not gonna emulate it, but he says my name, and he's just like, what kind of crazy stuff are you doing out here now? You know, and I'm like, what in the world? And he was just like, yeah, you know, are you putting bleach in, you know, the soap thing because it could, I'm worried about the dog. So he was repeating verbatim what this girl said that, was untrue that happened before he came. And this is like months ago, and I'm like, that is crazy. And the whole front area smelled like alcohol. Now, for people that use alcohol as an excuse for doing what they do, it's not an excuse. You are well aware of what you're doing. That's just a disgusting habit. It's nasty, And so I didn't say anything because I'm like, okay, this is crazy. First of all, it's like 3:40 in the morning. He's being loud and he's waking everybody up. And then he's like, "Are you out tricking or something like that?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, absolutely unacceptable. So I go and knock on the owner's door, and I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Such and Such, I just want to let you know that this couple, this guy is harassing me. I'm out here trying to get myself together, and he's saying some very inappropriate, incendiary things. I'm just letting you know because he's being loud, and I don't want to be accused of, starting something or waking up the house or this, that, and the other, you know." And I was like, "Do you, hear what's going on?" And then what I'm noticing that he's doing too, I think it's intentional. The owner is saying that he doesn't understand what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And at first I was like, okay. He was like, "Well, I got some of it, but I didn't understand all." He was like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And I'm just like, "You're the owner. I want you to address it. And then I was like, because it's like 3:45 in the morning. And then what he did was he turned it around on me. That's what the owner did. He was like, well, he said my name very disparagingly. He was just like, "Come on, it's such and such in the morning." And I'm like, "I know. That's why I'm coming to you, because at such and such in the morning, this person is harassing me and being loud, and I'm sure you heard it." And of course, nobody heard anything. So, um, so I don't know. He didn't say whether he heard it or not, but he just turned it around on me. Because he knew I would be the easiest person, because I'm the kind of person, I have a respect for people, so I believe, I would be like, "Okay, I'm sorry. But I'm just like, no, this is not good. This is, this boy has never before, ever came at me this way. So, and recently before that, they had gotten into an argument. And, you can't help but to overhear the argument, door slamming, this, that, and the other, about how he doesn't work and he sits here all day and that's not okay and blah, 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 blah. Now, the only reason I'm sharing this again, because it comes into my situation of why this is happening. And so what I believe at that point is that perhaps he's trying to earn his keep. Because, all right, if he's not doing this, whatever, he needs to take a stand and show, you know what I'm saying, that whatever craziness that she's got going on, she's into, that he's going to back her 110%. And so he's earning his keep by attacking me. That's what it is, pretty much. And that happened immediately after she called him back, and whatever, because he's not paying attention to me and I'm not paying attention to him. So I'm just like, what in the world? That was just out of the blue. That was not something personally that he witnessed. That was something that she said to him to get him riled up, using my name and put it in there. So I called the police to file a report for the harassment. Now, with this couple, the way that couple operates, the female is very intelligent. I have to give it to her. She is intelligent, flawless when it comes to dealing with people. She is an ace. She knows how to, she knows she knows how to finesse people. But on the other hand, she's unstable, and you would not know that unless you have a situation with her personally. Like that "I'm so mad" situation. That scared me, and then that I didn't tell you the rest of the story. With the I'm so mad," and then I offered her to use my stuff, and I told her, okay, I offered her, gave her my stuff, had her smell the different bleaches, told her to let the landlord smell it, and then I went on about my business, and then she wanted to pull me back, into her arena, and I had walked away, went on because I had somewhere I had to be. I walked away. She pulled me back into her arena and was just like, something about, "You're in denial. You're in denial. You're a very sad person." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And I'm like, that is not at all true of me. And she was just like, "You're always the victim." And I was like, where is this coming from? This is just out of the blue. And I was thinking, well, maybe she's talking about because I had that victims in the criminal justice system. And I was just like, that's not at all true. You admit it. You're sad. I was just like, what? And I was like, "No, ma'am, I don't have time for this." I was like, "I have things that I have to do. That is not at all true about me. Have a nice day." I went on about my business. And so then, she wanted to pull me back into her arena. So she kept saying stuff. and I would just address it that same way. And so I was in the midway section, that dining area is the midway section, and her dog started barking because of the noise. And she was like, "See, you're causing my dog to be upset." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I've exited the conversation. I'm done. I have something else to do." And so it was just that whole back and forth thing. The white lady stayed in her room. Now, it was crazy. And at that point, I realized she was crazy. I was like, I'm not dealing with this female at all. I will not, she could scream bloody murder. I will not, nothing. That's what I say. But what ended up happening, and this is just where it connects. What ended up happening was maybe a few months later, I'm hearing again, 3 or 4 in the morning, the guy, I guess, is beating up on the girl, is doing something that she didn't like, because I'm hearing her say, "Stop, stop, stop," and he's like, "Shut the fuck up," whatever, and she's like, "Stop, no, stop it, get off of me, get off of me," and I'm like, and the way that it sounded really in distress, and it concerned me, because again, I guess I say that I wouldn't come to help or nothing, but I didn't know what to do, you know. I didn't know what to do, because nobody, for me, the kind of human being I am, I don't want to hear anyone hurt or in distress or in pain, and, receive any bodily injury or harm. So, but on the one note, I know definitely is not my place, because we don't have that relationship. And I know that if I get involved in any kind of way, it may be turned around on me. So I just texted the owner and let him know, "Hey, I'm hearing this going on. And because you have a relationship with them, perhaps you could step in." Again, absolutely ignore it. And, then there was a situation where the white woman, she confided something to me, because she said that, and the white woman is very two-faced. Whenever she has an issue with them, then, she'll open up and speak to me, and, say things that are kind of, denigrating to them. You know what I'm saying? And I don't ever participate. I always say, when she starts into that, because I don't gossip, I'll say, that's none of my business. That's between them. But I did, but this part I did speak on, because it did concern me. But I was like, but I did overhear, a situation where it sounded like she was in distress. And I was like, but I was thinking that maybe, perhaps, that was just the way they like to play. And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, so he does beat on women." And she was like, "Yeah, you know." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And so that was the end of it. And then another situation where, and she'll say all these negative things, and I'm just like, well, if that's how you feel about these people, why do you continue to deal with them? And it's out of fear, because she doesn't want it to turn around on her. And I think that's the same way the owner does what he does, because when you look at it, I am not of value to these people at all. I say to myself, I don't own a car. I don't want a car. I'm not going to help gossip with you. I'm not going to talk bad about nobody. I'm not, it's just not me. So I'm absolutely of no use. If your car breaks down, I can't help you. If something happens, I don't have time to sit and baby you on it. I'll tell you that, hey, well, this is what you can do to fix it. And that's it. So I have absolutely no value to these people, Now, the situation this morning, with the landlord, the owner losing or having his phone stolen or lost, and I'm not sure about all that, how that happened, but evidently and this is again an overheard conversation. Evidently something happened where he went out, and I think maybe his car broke down or something when he went out, and on way back, maybe he lost his phone. So I went to see what was going on, because there was a lot of things happening, and for some reason, um, you know, everything was trying to be placed on me, and so I was in here the whole day. I was working on stuff, and then I slept for a few hours, and so I came out and I was like, "Did I overhear that your phone got stolen or lost?" And he was just like very hesitant, because he was using the Miss Brown, the Brown lady's phone, to, I guess, rectify that situation. And he was very hesitant to answer. He was just like, "Yeah," and I wanted to make sure that, again, I wasn't being of course I am, but being pulled into that at all, I don't know what the situation was. And I was like, "Well, why don't you just call it, if it's maybe in the house somewhere?" But at that time, if it was in the house and he called it, of course they would have turned the phone off, so it wasn't going to ring. So he called, and I don't know what happened either way. It was not discussed with me. I don't have a friendship or any type of relationship. It's strictly professional, and it's not even professional, to be honest with you, because you know, even the things that are professional that I need to address, and this is why I'm addressing it here, I'm not able to, because Um, I do not have access to the email address, which again would be able to allow me to put it into a report and give it to him, which I think he doesn't want. So I've been sending it by text, but the texts are convoluted because they're all out of order, which I think is what he wants. So it just seems like, okay, yeah, she sent it, but I didn't understand anything it says. And then when I talk to him verbally, he will not allow me to speak to him verbally on it. What'll happen is that he'll walk off in the middle of me saying something, close the door, and then if I try to pursue, it's just like, that's out of, so I can't, so it's like I don't have the opportunity to voice it. So I'm voicing it here, and I will take the responsibility to do what I need to do. I will place it in writing. Previously I was sending, like I said, through text. The text didn't make sense anyways, because they were all, it's like, it's something that needs to be emailed. It's like text 1 of 2 6 5 3 of 5 2 of 5, and it's all out of order. And I think that's what it's meant. I mean, he's intelligent, so he can decipher it. But if there comes a point where I have to bring it into to just show it to someone else, it's not gonna make sense, and he'll be like, "Oh, it doesn't make sense." That's just a whole bunch of garbage. You see? So, it does a favor on both parts because it makes me have to kind of pull it together and be more specific about how I address it. And I will be, and I'll do it under no uncertain terms on a weekly basis. Now, going back with that situation, so the things that I addressed with him this morning, a couple of days ago, my items, and I have pictures in the refrigerator, are very compartmentalized. On the onset, when I came here, I wanted to make sure that I had a set space that was, just tell me what space I can use. It don't matter how much or how little it was, and I will always know that that space is mine. I know that when I leave and when I come back, that my stuff will be there. If I leave and I come back and I have other items I want to purchase, that when I come back, those items will be there. Now, he refuses to set any rules in this house, because if he sets those rules and these people are against it, then, he wants it to be flexible for them. You understand? Now, the rules that were set previously to them being here, some of them he has changed inadvertently and made it like those rules never existed, which is kind of scary to me. But with the refrigerator, prior to them being here, that space was allotted. When they got here, that space was allotted, and we all discussed it, and it was understood, and it was cool. Now, what ends up happening, the brown lady, she has this latent type of her way of fighting is latent. It's like mind games. I'll promote all this, and then I'll take a little drop of a jab, have this person respond, and then this person, looks just out of it. You know what I mean? And then because she has the power of building good relationships, she has a relationship with this person, so this person only is going to hear what they say. And then it's at the point, she's very smart, and I can't, very smart, sharp as a tack. And so with the relationship, what happens is that, and very just socially smart, that's something, I have no social intelligence. She's socially smart. So what happens is that she feeds all this positivity, she builds all these relationships, so there's nothing but positive there. There is nothing, absolutely nothing negative. If you're somebody that's of value to her, there's absolutely nothing negative there. And she has that kind of relationship with the owner. Now, what ends up happening a few days ago, the refrigerator, my stuff is all very neatly contained, packaged, keep everything in bags in the small area that has been designated to me. So it's really hot in here, there's no air conditioning. So I go into the refrigerator that morning, and I noticed that one of my bags that's neatly contained is ripped from the bottom. There's no reason for it to be ripped from the bottom. All my stuff is moved around. It's not stuck to the freezer or anything like that. But the bag is like somebody just ripped it from the bottom. Absolutely no reason to. You could have opened it from the top, but ripped it from the bottom. Not only did they rip it from the bottom, they took out the bottle that was in there and kind of threw it to the side, and it was probably dripping stuff because they probably opened it because it was not as full as it was, but I don't know for sure, so I can't say that. But it was obvious that someone tampered with it, and it was obvious that the way that they did it was very rude and volatile. Now, the person that I am, my initial reaction was, okay, let me just fix it back, So I immediately just, fixed the packaging and put it back. But then I was like, no, this needs to be documented in light of all the stuff that goes on. So I was like, okay, but this isn't good. I have to recreate it now. And the recreation was nothing like what it originally was. So I had to, kind of demonstrate and took a picture, and I put on the picture that it was a recreation of it. But and then and then when I went into the refrigerator, I noticed that the owner, as soon as I went in, he was going to his door. He tensed up, and then I kind of stood there and looked at it for a while, and then I went ahead and just fixed everything back, and then he went on about his business. So he knew, he knew, absolutely knew. And so with that, what ends up happening, I guess, with the man's phone being lost or stolen, and then there was a claim that I'll tell you about this, the young lady, the brown lady, said that her wallet, she misplaced or had her wallet lost or stolen. And I'm going to tell you about that, in just a moment. Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you about it now. So, after the incident where I called the police and this, that, and the other, there was all kinds of stuff, but again, had nothing to do with me, mind my own business, because you could spend a lot of your time minding somebody else's business, and ain't nobody got time for that. But let me get back to this morning, and I'll talk about all the other stuff. But long story short, the girl made sure that I was the last person to leave the house. I was going to take a shower. She jumped in when she saw me going, and I was like, okay, no problem. And it could be coincidence, you know what I'm saying? I'll just wait. So I waited. Then I got in the shower, came out, and then I was going to head out to do some shopping, things like that. But I was just like, well, hey, because I like to work out, and actually the house is a good place to work out. But I feel like I'm on was it real life or something? But the house is a good place to work out, and I was like, well, hey, nobody's here, so I can work. And I got the feeling that when I was working out in the past, perhaps they were thinking that I was showing off or something. But no, I just like to work out. I like to take care of myself. If I can keep myself immaculate, I will. You know what I'm saying? Because I love me, and I love who I am. And I've always been raised, when you go out, you present yourself as the woman that you are. I'm also into health and fitness, so you're going to see me in short shorts and little things and things like that, because, you need to see what's going on. So I was just like, okay, well, since somebody's going to hear, I'm going to work out all day long. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to enjoy it. But previously I had wanted to work out outside, but I wasn't able to because, again, I was attacked when I went outside to work out. It was like I had one day that I could work out that night, and I was like, I'm going. And I was attacked when I came outside. So that I was like, okay, I don't know if it was subconsciously because I was attacked or not, but I adjusted and I didn't work out for a while. I made a conscious decision on one part because, again, I don't have time for all that drama and negativity. And two, there was other things that I could do in place of that. Working out wasn't on the priority. But then I had a little more free time, so I decided to work out again. I was doing it in the house, and I think part of me would have wanted to go outside, but part of me was a little scared. Because I didn't want all that crazy, and then when you take that crazy, and then they could say anything out loud, everybody hear it, and, they believe that whatever was heard out loud must be the truth. Now, but then I was like, well, everybody's gone, so now I can work outside, so that's what I did. As soon, I kind of walked out right after the young man, and I was like kind of rushing behind him, because I was like, I was thinking in my mind, even though, we don't have that type of goodness between us, don't close the door on me. And, it was nice enough to not close the door in my face. I was literally like right on their heels. And I came out and I worked out and, recorded until my memory got full. And then, the owner came back with his car. The driveway was empty, so I worked out right in front. Then the owner came back with his car, so I kind of moved to the back. But I went to the back. Him and his lady friend came to the back to give them privacy. I moved back to the front, and worked out the whole time. When the owner left, I was still working out. Then the white lady came back working out. The other couple came back still working out. I worked out so hard, I was out of commission for 3 or 4 days. I heard a lot of commotion going on back and forth, but again, minding my business, because my goal is to work out. And I think sometimes people do that to try to cause you distress because they want to see you not at peace. And I was at peace because I didn't know what the hell was going on. But anyhow, so, that's the whole situation. That's not the whole situation. That's a lot of it. Again, ain't nobody got time for that. But I'm going to tell you about this morning real quick because that was the that was the necessity, and then I'll move on. This morning, so I went to let the owner know because I told him I was going to say verbally what happened, but he ended up changing his number. Didn't let me know that he changed it, which is important. So I just asked him. I was just like, hey, did you do you still have the same number? No. May I have the new one? Gave it to me. So and it's necessary to have as a person that lives here, but the reason to have it is if you can report incidences, and so and I told him, does anyone else have that number, is that other number still in use? And it is, because I called it and it still rang. I sent messages and there was no on those messages there was no error message, so somebody somewhere is still using it. I think he just recorded it, so maybe he didn't close it down. So somebody somewhere has it, or maybe it's in the process. But it's been a couple days, so it should have been shut down and said disconnected by now. But it's not. It's still going. So somebody has that information out there somewhere. Now, so I don't know what the situation is there. So I asked him for the email, which I asked at the onset when I came, because again, I need to report those things, and doing it by text is not efficient at all, and it doesn't make sense because you can't really, he can decipher it because he's, intelligent, but it's just, it comes in all different kinds of orders. So anyhow, at least from my end, that's what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like on his end. So I get that. I send him everything that I sent him the day before. I am still doing my weekly report, and I am going to post it verbally. I'm going to post it on the website. I am going to, when I get a chance, actually have a printout paper report that I give to him, that he sees to update, and that's it. It's no excuse. You may have a personal relationship with these people, but there is right and wrong. No one should be able to destroy your property. No one should be able to attack you verbally or physically. And those things are happening. And what happens is that whenever I try to address it, he will block it. If it's in the house, he may not say anything, but if he's outside where other people can hear, definitely, because he wants to give the impression that everything in the house is perfect, and if there's a problem, that I am the only one. Now, again, before I used to, but anyhow, I used to think that it was not, maybe he was being manipulated, but no, he knows what he's doing. This is prior to, but I also have an understanding that, the situation that he's in, he doesn't have a lot of resources either, so these people are a resource to him. Okay, so and also there's a personal preference too. When I first came here, he really didn't like me anyhow, but all that aside, it's still professional. Somebody's renting from you. It's strictly professional. You don't have to like them personally. They do not have to be your personal friend to deserve, the basic civil respect of having a peaceful environment to live in. So anyways, God bless. I have to go because I do have a life and it does not consist of only this. But I love you guys, and I am going to follow up with this when I get a chance. As you can see, it's kind of long, so there's a lot more to it than that. Did I address everything from today? No, I didn't. Okay, so I addressed the thing with him about what happened in the freezer. I addressed it with him previously. He blocked it and would not allow me to finish what I was saying. And I said, okay, understandable. Something happened with his car and his phone. But then he doesn't want them to hear, because if there's any type of way that he's showing that he's in agreement at all in any way, then that may lessen the chance of him receiving help from them if needed, or, and maybe he's just lonely. You know what I'm saying? So he'll have people to talk to, and, whatever. So whatever the situation is. So that's one in that. So I did try to address it with him. The first time that it happened verbally, he walked away and blocked it. Second time, absolutely blocked it. Says that he needed space. The third time, tried to do it in writing, and according to him, only after asking that I made aware that that's no longer his number, but it still works. Somebody somewhere is using it. Is that too fast for it to initially go to someone else? Then I sent it to the new number, which I saw him kind of perusing. Then I talked to him about it verbally, and he completely ignored, like completely nothing was said. Okay, so that was the situation with that issue I addressed with him. The second issue I addressed with him was dissemination of my personal information. Again, what I said is that, if you would not allow anyone else in this household to be treated that way, it should not be acceptable for me. With dissemination of personal information, like when I asked him for his email, again, it was for this professional purpose, because those things need to be documented and it needs to be managed professionally. Now, he says, no, I will not give you that. I know that there's others in the household that do have it. Now, for whatever reason. Now, speaking on personal, and that's what got me into the thing about the hacked account, because, again, he will allow that to go and allow, whatever thoughts to be thought about that and not say anything. I said, speaking on personal information, I addressed this with him before, And I asked him because in the situation with that wallet thing, I don't know if my personal information was given. I feel that it was, that perhaps the brown girl texted him or asking for it, and he gave it to her. And I told him, for my personal safety, I'm letting you know that, again, I'm reminding you, I do not want my personal information disclosed to anyone. You have my personal information because you have a need for it as the owner, but no one else has a need for it. And for my personal safety and protection, I don't want it discussed or shared or given to anyone. If anybody requests it or have a need for it, they need to come to me directly and request that information, and I will manage my information from there. And then he was like, in that case, then don't send me any more texts, you know. And I was like, well, I have to communicate with you about what happens in this household, that if there's an issue or a concern, I have to communicate that to you. So he didn't confirm whether or not he gave out my information, but I believe that he did. And again, that's totally inappropriate use of my information. Even though you have a personal relationship with those people, that's my professional information that I gave to you for professional purposes only. So that's infringement on my personal privacy and my personal safety. And that there's been a lot of things that have gone on here. And what was another issue that I addressed? Oh, I addressed the issue about the hacking. And then again, I think he did not want me to speak out loud on that, because again, he blocked me on that. So just sharing you those things. I have less than an hour to prepare myself to get up out of here. I love you guys. Hope you have a great day. Be safe. Again, I think some of you may be going through the same things, and that's why I post what I post. But again, feel free to share your comments. Thank you. Have a great day.